Welcome to day 7 of the Alcohol Experiment by Annie Grace, hosted and read by me, Melissa O'Malley. If you don't know, this is the Alcohol Experiment by Annie Grace. You can learn more by visiting alcoholexperiment.com. I'm just hosting the Alcohol Experiment in my community, and you're welcome to join as well. Today is day 7. The chapter is called Your Experiment and Your Friends. Yes, and we always start with a quote. So today's quote is by Mark Twain. It says, "Whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, it is time to reform or pause and reflect." You've been working on this experiment for a week now. Congratulations. How do you feel? Are people starting to notice? At this point, some of your friends might be noticing that something about you has changed. Maybe you've been out with them and turned down a drink, or maybe they've noticed a change in your behavior or even your physical appearance. Sooner or later, you're going to have to tell someone about what you're doing. And sometimes your friends won't understand why you've decided to spend 30 days alcohol free. Not only that, but they may even keep offering you drinks right through the challenge. They may say, "Come on, it's just one. Don't be such a loser." When people want to quit smoking, everyone around them is supportive and thinks it's great. And a friend wouldn't even think of offering a cigarette to a friend in that situation. So, what makes alcohol different? We're often hesitant to tell our friends. You might be a little hesitant to even tell your friends, and I believe there's pretty good reason for that. I think the crux of the problem is that we treat alcohol differently than we do any other addictive substance. For example, we don't have cigarette-aholics or heroinism, but we do have alcoholics and alcoholism. When we say cigarette addiction or heroin addiction, we're talking about the addiction, not the people themselves. But the word alcoholic defines a person. The word itself blames the person rather than the substance. For some reason in our culture, a heroin addict is someone to be pitied because they've been overpowered by an addictive substance. But an alcoholic is someone who was weak and unable to control themselves around something as innocent as a glass of beer. And it's no wonder we do this. According to certain statistics, 87% of people who over 18 who have drank alcohol at some point. 87% of people over 18 have drank alcohol at some point. That's a huge number. And I think the only way we can justify to ourselves that so many people drink is to simply not talk about the fact that alcohol is addictive, just like heroin and tobacco are. As a society, we don't seem to realize that alcohol is addictive. We don't talk about the fact that when we party on a Friday night and end up puking, that physical reaction is our body's way of saving our life because we literally poisoned ourselves. And so the language that's developed around alcohol and the attitude of blaming the person instead of the substance has created this huge taboo against talking about it at all. We treat every other substance that's bad for us differently than we treat alcohol. I might be chatting with my friend in front of a big box of donuts and say, "This is a really good donut, but I'll only have half because all that fat and sugar isn't good for me." But what if the entire conversation changed? What if the question about drinking a bit less became a wellness conversation, like stopping smoking or eating less sugar? What if we could talk about alcohol the same way we talk about eating a few less donuts? Can you imagine what our society might look like if there was no stigma, no fear of the label alcoholic, and we could truly have a wellness conversation around our drinking? I know I would have looked at my drinking much earlier, certainly before it became truly a problem, if it were not such a loaded topic. The great news? Just by participating in the alcohol experiment, you're part of a global movement to do just that, to look at our drinking well before the point of disaster. That's amazing. I am so proud of us. No one ever says, this is a good Chardonnay, but I'm just going to have one glass because I worry about the breast cancer and liver damage. That doesn't happen. We have successfully separated alcohol out from other toxic substances. We even say alcohol and drugs as if alcohol weren't also a drug, in spite of the fact that alcohol kills more people every year than prescription and illegal drugs combined. In fact, according to two independent studies about what is the most dangerous drug, Alcohol won the prize. So I think this societal attitude is why people treat you differently when you quit smoking or cut down on sugar. Because when you tell your friend that you're not drinking, there's an automatic implied judgment because that friend probably feels like they drink about the same amount as you. And if you think you're drinking too much, then you must also think that they're drinking too much. Whether it's true doesn't matter. And guess what? They probably have some internal conflict around their own drinking. So the fact that you're not drinking is painful for them. Perspective change. When I was drinking a lot, I couldn't comprehend why anyone would choose not to drink. Like, why on earth not? What was the big deal? It didn't make sense to me. Looking back on those days now, I can see that deep down inside, I knew I was treating my body badly. And when I was confronted with friends who'd made the decision to stop treating their bodies badly, it made me feel like they were strong and I was weak. I didn't like that. And there's another friend you're sorry. And there's another reason your friends may try to sabotage your efforts. They don't want to lose you. One of the most fundamental parts of being human is that we crave community and interaction with other people. And we've given alcohol this magical power to make us all into fun loving, laid back party animals. I thought that without alcohol, I wouldn't be any fun. I believe that alcohol was the glue that held some of my friendships together. When I decided alcohol no longer had a place in my life, it set me apart, and humans don't like to be apart. So your friends may feel like you will ostracize them or you won't want to spend time with them anymore, and nobody wants that. Is it fear? Are they afraid of their own drinking? If your friends aren't being supportive, realize it's probably out of fear. They're afraid you're judging them. Deep down, they know that maybe they shouldn't want to drink as much as they do. They may be afraid you won't want to spend time with them anymore. And they may be afraid that they might be an alcoholic. When people question their drinking, they might actually be wondering, am I an alcoholic? And the implications of that seem horrific. Alcoholism has been defined as a lifelong disease for which there is no cure. Alcoholics must completely abstain from drinking forever. They have to label themselves as alcoholics for the rest of their lives, even if they manage to stay sober. Alcoholism is portrayed as a never ending fight for control. A fight that, if people lose, could cost them their marriage, their job, their children, or even their life. That is so scary. No one wants to think about that when all they're trying to do is unwind after a long day at work. Today, plan how you can bring plan how you can bring up the subject with those close to you so that you can keep your fun, friendly relationship with them. Here are a few ideas for how to talk to your friends without alienating them. Keep it light and joking. I'm overdoing it on iced tea. Haha. Be self-deprecating, but not too much. You're doing an amazing thing and you don't need to be apologetic. I drank enough last month to last the next 30 days, so I'm taking a break. Let it lie. The truth is, the less you make of it, the less they'll make of it. Sometimes we assume people are judging our behaviors when in reality, people are mostly thinking about themselves. If you shrug it off like it's no big deal, they will also. I love to simply say, I'm good, thanks. By the way, I've been meaning to ask you, how have you been lately? What's new in your life? This not only turns down a drink, but often also kicks off a great conversation. Day 7 journal questions. Remember, all the wisdom you seek is actually inside you. The most important words in this experiment are the ones you tell yourself. Take some time to answer these questions in a journal, a voice memo to yourself, or simply by speaking the answers out loud for only you to hear. 1. Telling your friends and family. Jot down some ideas about how to talk to your friends and family about the alcohol experiment. Write anything that comes to mind, then use what feels best when you have conversations with your friends and family. If you've already had these conversations, write down what worked and reflect on what didn't. Sometimes these conversations take trial and error. That's okay. 2. Drinking as a wellness conversation instead of an addiction conversation. Reflect on the reading. How does it make you feel to think of drinking less? How does it make you feel to think of drinking less as a wellness conversation instead of an addiction conversation? What would it be like if taking a break from drinking were celebrated in the same way as someone stopping smoking cigarettes? What do you think about the fact that society treats alcohol differently than other drugs? Take a moment to feel proud that by taking part in this experiment, you are part of the movement to make the question around drinking less an easier one for anyone to ask. And that's day 7. Speaking personally as Melissa, I definitely relate to a lot of that. I had many nights and days, just times, um, where I would cry and say, like, I don't even feel like I can share my sobriety with people because of the implications of that. If I share that I'm sober now, it implies that I had a problem before, which implies that I am somehow weak and out of control and an alcoholic. So it's tough, and I really like her perspective on it. Um, so that's all for today. I'll see you tomorrow for day 8. The chapter is titled How Alcohol Affects Your Senses. See you then. Take care.